We have a bill that will allow either administrations or student governing bodies at schools in Minnesota that have at least 1,500 students to request a temporary voting location.
You know that currently we already have access to 46 days of early voting, absentee balloting. Now it's permanent if you want to become an absentee voter. And current law allows the local government units to set up a, temporary additional polling places. Yeah, they can already vote absentee in these places. So they already have a place to drop it off. And most college students are I don't know if transient's the right word, but they're not permanent residents of that facility. It's something that's already covered. They have 46 days to vote. It's going to put an additional cost to the counties.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here, college students, they already have the right to vote. They have a month and a half, 46 days to get that done, to vote. But here we're going to set up a polling place on college campuses that we're going to expect the counties to take care of all the funding and the staffing and the organizing for it. And again, this is going to increase costs. I think this is very fiscally irresponsible for us, once again, as a state, of wasting taxpayers' money. And to me as well, I just want to bring up this point, Mr. Chair. If voting is important to a college student, which I hope it is, okay, I really hope it is. I want voting to be very important to every legal citizen in our state who resides in Minnesota, who is considered a resident of Minnesota. I want them to go and vote. But I also want us to be very careful how we are making decisions that the county is going to have to fit the bill for. So to me, this is fiscally irresponsible. And with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. A temporary polling place on a post-secondary institution's campus may be part of the plan for an efficient and effective election. However, it is already authorized under current law and should not become a mandated if requested. Another thing, just a comment. Frankly, the mandate is really the issue here. These activities are already permitted at the county's discretion if they should be requested. I believe counties are responsive to the needs of their constituents and institutions within their borders. This mandate could be costly and seems unnecessary.
I know there are campuses where they have students that are attending that are from different counties, different school districts, different cities, let alone different precincts. So the possible number and variation of ballots is extremely complex.
And so that is concern to the public, that we are picking and choosing who we are driving to the polls to vote. And I do think that in a elections committee, which up until 2023, the state of Minnesota has really had this committee be very, nonpartisan, and we respected that. To the state of Minnesota this last year in 2023, it was very, very appalling to see that the Republicans' bills were not heard, and that it was so one-sided in this committee, and there was no there was not bipartisan support on these bills. So I do think that this is a red flag. I'm going to point that out right away, but if we're going to continue this again in 2024, as we did in 2023, it looks like one side of Minnesota's voices will not be heard.
We used to have a standard in the Senate and in the legislature that we would only pass things that were masterfully deliberated and bipartisan. And so that was when we determined we had a need, we can come together to work out those great ideas, but those days appear to have passed, and so we'd love to go back to that standard where we had an opportunity to do so.
How this looks to the outside is we're putting in polling locations in places that are predominantly overwhelming Democrat voters. So people ask on the outside, is this about democracy or is this about Democrats? The only polling locations that we want to institute, and this would be one thing if our institutions of higher learning gave a broad range of ideas, which I think they should be doing, that had a good number of proponents on both sides, that gave students the pros and cons of their position. But they show overwhelmingly the vast majority are very, very extreme one direction. And I just sat through college classes myself and was shocked by some of the rhetoric that I heard. So this bill purports after the months of lecture from only one direction, here's a ballot at this spot, now go vote. And then it is incorrect to say that we don't want students to vote, because they clearly have the same equal access to every polling location that the rest of us have. And I have students that are core members on my campaign team. Of course I want our young people to vote. I don't want any member going back here and repeating in their district, oh, those awful Republicans in St. Paul want to stop students from voting. I'm sure someone's going to try saying that. It's not true. But Mr. Chair, this is to point out, do we want early access for people to vote? Or do we just want early access for the people that we want to vote for us? And that's what this bill seems to be showing. That's why I'm not voting for it today. Thank you.
It is, and we're making all these additional drastic changes to a process that we haven't even gone through an election cycle with the last year's rules. We just want to make sure it's easy to vote, hard to cheat, and so believable that both sides trust the results. So thank you.